And welcome back, footy fans, to another episode of Donnie's Disposals. I am your host, Coach Donnie Hess here, back with another SANFL snapshot. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we have gotten to that favorite time of the year, and that is finals. And we can't not talk about the SANFL. We have to bring back two of my favorite people in the world who I have just had a lot of fun sitting and chit-chatting with before we even turned the mics on. So we thought, hey guys, let's start the podcast. Joining me as usual, the man, the myth, the legend, the caller extraordinaire, Phil Aspinall. Phil, great to see you, sir.
Coach Donny, g'day Das. Great to be with you guys and great
Hey
to be
Phil.
talking about finals footy. Of course, can you smell it? The smell's in the air. Spring is in the air, and we've got finals footy around the corner.
I find it funny. You guys say spring is in the air, where fall is in the air for
Yeah.
me. Not really. This week we had like 40, it was almost 40 Celsius up here. Holy shnikes, come
Wow.
on. We're supposed to be to
Wow.
almost fall now, and we get summer swelter, whatever. But it's kind of funny. I just always think it's kind of funny that the difference in that you guys are going to spring, getting towards summer. I'm getting towards fall. So always the fun time of year when it comes to the globe that we have. And Woodville, West Torrance, super fan and great gentleman for me here, Mr. Darce Evans. Darce, again, great to see you as always.
Uh, Coach Donny, how are you, Phil? And look, I can't
Good.
believe how it's come around so quickly. The finals. Just 1 minute we're talking the women's footy is starting, the next thing the men's starting. Here we are, finals time already. But I don't think my heart can take much more of this, guys, because as I'm a current supporter, we had we lost to St Kilda. Then we had to wait until what was going to happen between the Port Adelaide and Fremantle. And guys, for the first time ever, I actually was barracking for Port Adelaide. So that's you'll never see that again. But look, fantastic that Carlton got in. No doubt we're talking about the Eagles, how they scraped in, but looking forward to it.
This is one of those. I wish I had like sound. I wish I had like a sound bar because I'd love for. Unfortunately, Darce, the one thing that both of your teams this year have done is backed into the finals. I want to do like that beeping truck, beep, beep, beep noise because you got to admit, unfortunately, both your teams kind of backed their way into the finals. They're there though. Hey,
Scraped in both of them.
you're giving yourself a shot. So
Yeah.
for those that know, we have the final three rounds of the home and away season to go through really quickly. We know the five that will be competing for finals. Let's break down rounds 17 through 19, and then we will talk finals. Cannot wait. Jumping back to round 17, here we go. Norwood continuing a strong season, getting a win over South Adelaide 107-52. The North Adelaide Roosters get a win over the Glenelg Tigers 103-75. Sturt playing well as well, getting that win over the Central District's Bulldogs 86-52. The Adelaide Reserves smacking down the West Adelaide Bloods 111-43. And Port Adelaide beating the Woodville West Torrance Eagles 103-59. I almost said West Coast, wrong competition. Sorry about that, fellas. So an interesting round. The winners getting wins by big, not too many close games. I mean, kind of a round of big wins, Phil.
Yeah, it was, and some intriguing performances from a few sides. The final shaping type games as well. We know that Norwood were certainly sitting themselves out on top of the table and sent a good message to the competition that they're priming themselves for finals. I was out at Unley and called the Central Sturt game, and the hoodoo that Sturt have over the Bulldogs is over, I think, 11 consecutive wins, and the Dogs couldn't break the shackles. They were competitive, but the Double Blues did what they had to do. And then we know that the purple patch of form that the Adelaide State League side had in their race to the finals, and it was a battle of the birds, wasn't it? It was Darcy's Eagles and the Adelaide
Yeah.
Crows, and Darcy's wings. Your Eagles' wings were clipped, but they managed to stay afloat just long enough to scrape in. But yeah, some terrible form going in.
Yeah.
Darce?
This was a mixed bag this round. You can see that North Adelaide, they're out of the five. Tigers were in form, but that was a bit of a thumping, I thought. North probably thought they had the slight chance of making the five, but after that win, but it wasn't to be. But then look, the Eagles, that was shattering stuff. Port at the bottom of the ladder, and to win by that much as well, it's just a real mixed bag with those two games, I thought. But the others, there was no surprises. The Crows, look, Norwood, they were fantastic last week, and they as Phil said, they've just shown their might in this league at the moment, heading the finals, and instead over the Bulldogs, a little bit of an upset maybe because Bulldogs are doing okay as well. They're in the finals, but good game nonetheless. But gee, was a heart shattering for Norwood that they win, but didn't make the finals. Then Eagles just losing to Port Adelaide, unfortunately.
Definitely for sure. We jump to round 18 and we get some really good ones here as Norwood again, strong as always, beating the North Adelaide Roosters 118-63. A classic at X Convenience Oval as the Doggies edge out the Tigers 45-44. Woodville West Torrance goes, you know what? We don't like losing. Let's win one. 118-61 over South Adelaide. Sturt get a win over the West Adelaide Bloods 89-32. And in the showdown light, probably not as feisty as the showdown in the men's, the Adelaide Reserves get a mighty win over Port Adelaide 124-47. Phil, I'll go to you. A 1 point win by the Doggies over the reigning premiers. I mean, this had to really set up Centrals to continue to be finish strong and finish up near the top of the ladder of the SANFL this year.
Yeah, look, it was a character building win for them because I called the game, and at one stage they were 29 points down at the start of the third term, and to halftime hadn't kicked a goal. They played some pretty bad footy in the opening half. Conditions were pretty wintry and windy and hard to play decent running football in, but they showed some fight. Glenelg had their chances, wasteful in front of goal, but Coach Paul Thomas from Central after the game said, we build our sides on strong characters, and that's what they were able to do, grind out the win. The grandstand was rocking. I haven't heard it that loud in a long, long time. Perhaps back to the halcyon days of the 2000s when the Dogs were winning quite regularly. But a great game of footy, a good advertisement for SANFL footy. And yeah, Darren Reeves, the coach of Glenelg, was pretty disappointed that his guys couldn't close it out. They certainly make amends for it in the next couple of weeks. But a real character building win for the Dogs on the lead into finals.
Dash, your thoughts on round 18?
Yeah, that one there, Phil, the Central's low-scoring game. Is it because it was windy or just a very attacking defensive game of football? It was just a very low-scoring game, that one.
Yeah, conditions were quite blustery. There was a bit of rain at the start of the day, and then just that real swirly breeze, which made skills quite difficult to execute cleanly, and just typical, heart of winter type weather. And the Dogs in the end, as we said, grounded out.
But there wasn't any surprises here. Obviously, the close game with Centrals and Tigers, though. But Norwood again spanking the Roosters after the Roosters' good win against Glenelg the week before. That's just again Norwood showing their might in there. And look, obviously the Eagles were very confused about the Port. We got spanked by Port the week before. Then the Crows come out and actually built Port Adelaide. So it's whether there was players coming in and out from the AFL side, I'm not sure. But again, Eagles, we had to win this one. It's obviously it was an AFL club, South Adelaide, so we just had to win that, and we actually played very well that day. So we just hope we can sort of take what we did that day. Understand it's only South, but we can take what we did that day into the finals this week.
It just has a bit of an Eagles flavour as well, guys. That Crows game that we saw them quite comfortably beat Port Adelaide. Bit of an Eagles connection there, a bit of a coming-of-age game for young Tyler Welsh, the son of Scott Welsh, of course, highly talented young junior whose dad was aligned to the Eagles, and he's a Crows rookie. He kicked 5 goals, and it was the day before it was his birthday, so he gave himself a nice belated birthday present. But there's some suggestions that the Crows will certainly snap him up as a father-son, and he's a very talented, strong key forward that managed to kick a handful of goals, as I like to say, a handful in the SANFL.
Yeah, and you love those stories. It's one of the things that over here in the States, you don't have that. I mean, you have the draft, but it's like there's no guarantees that you're going to go where your legacy is. Like, how crazy would it be to see Emmitt Smith, the famous Dallas Cowboys running back, if his son would get to the Dallas Cowboys? So it's like, I love the father-son role. I know sometimes it can get a little weird because you get a superstar player that maybe is a top 5 that goes to a team that maybe has just won a premiership or is just finished runner up in the grand final. It is a little bit weird, but I love it. I think it's great. I think it keeps the family connection with clubs. So I absolutely love it. So hearing those stories and hearing that you've got Crows and you've got Port Adelaide youngsters that their dads played for their team. I hope that it comes out more and more. It's fantastic. So we jump to it. Final round.
I think so. Just very quick on that, you mentioned the Filippo playing for St Kilda. He's from a very famous Filippo family here. I think their grandfather, Peter Filippo, played for West Torrens in the 70s and probably some 80s. And there's 2 sons. I can't remember the name. Both sons played for Eagles. I reckon one or both. You may know Phil played for the Crows as well.
Sam and Michael. So Sam played a couple of games for Footscray, and Michael Filippo. Sam Filippo played for Port Magpies as well as the Eagles, and actually did some radio work with Michael Filippo, who's now in the finance industry living in Sydney. But yeah, 3rd, 4th generation coming through. I love that in the SANFL, and you see that more pertinent now, which is great to see.
Absolutely.
Definitely, for sure. So we jumped to round 19, and I was just looking through it, going, I'm sensing a theme, and for some weird reason, one team didn't get the message, but we'll bring that up here in just a second. We jump to it. Stratorama Stadium is the West is as the Glen Elk Tigers smack down the South Adelaide Roosters 148-30. And X Convenience over the Bulldogs get a nice little win over the Port Adelaide Magpies 104-36. Cover your ears, Darce. Unfortunately,
Oh,
at Monica Kia Oval, as the Redlegs show their might, smashing the Woodville West Torrens Eagles 122-47. North Adelaide get a win over West Adelaide in a little bit of a thriller, 109-92. And here's where I get it. Sturt, you didn't get the message. Everybody wins, scored 100 points. Except you, as you beat
contrary.
Adelaide 60-46. I mean, come on, Sturt. Come on, keep the theme going. I'm just kidding on that one. But I mean, you look at it, I mean, the better team, the team that should have won, and they won convincingly, except for
Mm.
the game between North Adelaide and West Adelaide. West Adelaide putting up a little bit of a fight, but I mean, the favorites win in this round, another smashing as we set the finals, as the final five is set after this round. So, Darce, will go to you. Unfortunately, you probably had to sit through that, as you said, you had to sit through this one and the Carlton loss and the same weekend. My condolences to you, sir.
Look, I don't think my heart can't take this anymore. I tell you, but gee whiz, we were we were sitting at the Woodville Creek Club. There was actually a function with the function there because there was the ladies' day in the actual main function in the Eagles function centre. So obviously we knew we were going to lose at about three or probably half time, and then so obviously we had on the TV there was a live broadcast from the Sturt Crows game. So we can't the Crows had to lose. For us to make that five. So we were obviously watching that game a lot more in the last quarter to make sure that Sturt got over the line to get us in the finals, which it did. So we was breaking for Sturt in that last quarter. Would never even pray for Sturt ever, but they got us over the line and we're in the finals, which is great news for us. But apart from that, look, I think Tigers have been a bit slow the last few weeks, but then they come out and absolutely spank the Panthers just coming in the finals. That may be good signs for them. And Central Districts, I mean, Port spanked us, but they have had a bit of a poor year. I think, Koshi from Port Adelaide made that quite clear today that apparently we didn't want them that we finished bottom, and that's what we wanted apparently. So, but not sure if you heard that, guys. But yeah, look, apart from that, North Adelaide well done over the Bloods. They did put up a fight, but it was a very good last round of footy.
Mhm. Phil?
Yeah, look, I tend to agree, and I think what was fascinating about it is, at least as you touched on there, Darcy, we're still not knowing the results, the outcomes
Mm.
of the final makeup of the five. There was, I like to use the word connotation. There were plenty of connotations riding on results across the course of the day. I was out at the Bay where it was a bit of a no-brainer in terms of Glenelg comfortably taking care of South Adelaide, and yeah, the Panthers were pretty insipid in their last game of the year. Glenelg maybe sending a message that the Tigers are back. But I like the fact that, at any given stage, at one, I think Sturt and Nord was swapping top of the table a few times because percentage was
Correct.
coming into it. And then obviously, even though Glenelg got up with a big win, Central Districts getting over Port Adelaide meant that the Dogs were able to secure a top three spot, which is the first time in over 12 years. And I think if you're a true dyed-in-the-wool Centrals fan, you might have taken a tiny little bit of pleasure out of defeating Port Adelaide and consigning the Magpies, although they're not the Magpies anymore, but to their first wooden spoon since the year 1900. So I'm not sure that maybe David Koch didn't like that either.
No,
But I think
yeah,
I think
he
Koch
made
is
it quite
barking up
clear
the wrong
today.
trees. I won't go too far into that and get myself into trouble. But yeah, but Koshi just needs to keep focusing on what Koshi focuses on, and
Correct.
you've made your bed, you've got to lay in it. Is all I'll say.
Mm.
I'll say this as an American. It's like I understand. We've got Jerry Jones over here. We've got owners we've got owners or CEOs or whatever that use their mouths and sometimes get themselves into trouble. If I'm Kashi and if I'm anybody on his PR team, I just tell Kashi, shut up,
Yeah.
stop talking. Like, you're not doing anything positive right now whenever you use that thing between your nose and your chin. Stop, okay? Like, I get it. You're passionate about Port Adelaide. I get it. There's nothing wrong with that. But dude, there's a quote I love to hear is like, don't let is like people can think you're an idiot, okay? But don't open your mouth and confirm it for them. Just stop, dude. Just stop.
Yeah.
Stop talking. Okay.
Give it a
Again,
rest.
be passionate about your club. Do what you do. but stop talking. So I again, I know it's coming from an American. I know, but it's just I just Kashi just annoys me at times because dude, you're not helping at all. You're really doing nothing positive by giving sound bites to other clubs or literally making yourself sound like such a horrible sook,
Mhm.
legitimately. So we will get to it. So we have our five. Norwood finish at the top of the table. They will get that automatic jump to the second semifinal. We will see Sturt and Centrals play in the first qualifying final, and Glenelg will play the Woodville West Torrance Eagles in the elimination final. Our five are set. Let's jump to burning questions before we will eventually, at the end of this, we're going to see who comes out as our flag winner. We will predict the entire finals. We'll save that for the end of the episode. We'll jump to it. Burning questions. We'll jump to the minor premiers. Norwood win the minor premiership. But I gotta say, was this quite the accomplishment after last year not coming anywhere close to finals? Phil, I mean, is this an accomplishment for the Norwood Footy Club?
Oh, without a doubt, Donny, and it's an absolute
Mm.
complete about face and turnaround in form from last year. They lost their first eight last year as the reigning premier from the year before. I just had a quick count now, and they won their first seven this year and seven of their first 10. So they were off to the perfect start this season. I think Jade Rawlings was too good of a coach. One of those out of the box seasons last year, I think a lot of things went wrong for them. They had a few players retire or move on and had some injuries to start the year. Whereas this year they're a bit more healthy and full credit to Norwood and Jade Rawlings' crew because they've recruited beautifully. You know, Billy Cootie comes over, a bit of an unknown from the VFL. He dominates the SANFL this year, and they've just got some quality players across the defensive line. Their forward line has got depth aplenty. And then I can't speak highly enough of the guy in the middle called Harry Boyd, the ruckman who dominates the competition from clearances, from stoppage. And I think he will win the McGarry medal this year. If not from Will Snelling, then it'll be a Boyd McGarry. So, yeah, no surprise at all, guys. Norwood certainly deserving of their minor premiership. And for mine at the moment, they are the premiership favourites.
All right, Dash, your thoughts?
Look, Nord for me, I saw them last week and they were just a well-drilled machine. So, but just have a look at Nord and Sturt. Their percentage, I mean, Sturt second, their percentage is basically 60 both. The next one
Mm.
is like 54. So that's how much they've been dominating. When they win games, they win them very comfortably. They win by big margins. That's how these two
Mm-hmm.
have dominated all year. And look at Sturt. They lost the first three out of the five games and they never lost the game after that. So, and when Nord just lost, a couple in the middle and then just won a few weeks ago. But that's the dominance this year has been absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
And I
it's
think
definitely.
both sides have, sorry, Donny, I think both sides have got a really underrated defense. So you get a high percentage by kicking high scores, but importantly, reducing your opposition to lower scores. And,
Mhm.
the likes of Tom Donnelly and Pierce Seymour for Norwood, unheralded players, within the four walls of the footy club, they're well known, but just go about their business unobtrusively, get the job done. Sturt, conversely, have got some really underrated defenders. Will Coombs, I think, is a great player. Casey Voss, of course. And I think the balance for both those two sides are the reasons why we'll see them play off in the grand final, in my opinion.
Mm.
Yeah, and I know it's a lot. It's heavily spoken about in the AFL. Is that Premiership window is being? Are
Mm-hmm.
you in the top four of defense and offense? And it's interesting because I wanted to look at both those two. They are literally one and two, just like the ladder says. So
Mm.
that's that perfect thing. Really good defense, really good offense usually leads to a chance for a premiership. So I wanted to look at that as you guys were talking about it because I know that in the AFL, I can't tell you how many times I watch an AFL thing and they show the little window, and anybody that's in the top right hand quadrant, which is top four of both offense and defense, usually those are the teams you look at as being those teams that are in the premiership window. So I
Agreed.
just wanted to check that out and to see it because it literally is Norwood's the best offense, but Sturt's the best defense. So it's very interesting. So
Mm.
they're one and two opposites. Norwood one in offense, two in defense. Sturt is two in offense, one in defense. So it'll be fascinating to see those two go head to head potentially for a premiership. We'll have to see. We will jump to Darce and ask him this question: Woodville West Torrance just scrape into the finals? I worry about this. Are they making up the are they making up that fifth spot, or can Sauce make his team dangerous against Glenelg in that elimination final?
I think this is where we're all a bit confused because obviously when you come out, we all systems blazing at the beginning of the year, and then we've lost, like basically, I think we lost seven after late eight games. Rough. I'm just trying to look there. But have a look at Glenelg. They've also lost one, two, three, four, five, six out of the last 8 games. So they're on a slide as well. Not a slide, but their performance coming into these finals hasn't been real flash hot either. And they've lost to some. I think they lost to North Adelaide and a few of the lower grades too. So
Mhm.
look, I I know a lot of people from Eagles see this podcast, but I think look, based on the last few weeks, no. But if something just clicks for them all of a sudden, then and they can somehow get Glenelg's weakness, what they've done over the last 6 weeks by losing those games, I think we could have an upset.
Yeah, it'll be very, again, and once finals happen, finals are a completely different animal. You never know. Maybe
100%.
maybe Sauce has that great speech before the game, and the boys get up, and maybe Glenelg doesn't have anything is possible come finals. Finals is a completely different animal. I've said numerous times in many competitions, I said once the home and away season is over, you kind of chuck the results away because you never know. Because I've seen tons of times where a team has finished mid pack when it comes to the finals, and then they get hot at just the right time. They find that form that they didn't have. So I'm one of those. It'll be interesting to look at it. It's hard to deny the form. I mean, they've lost 7 of their last 8. Have one of the West Torrens. Not a good recipe to go into finals with because the confidence isn't there. And when the confidence isn't there, it's hard to play your best footy. So I'll ask this to you fellas for the last question, and I know that it never is exactly the way it is. If you're the people at the top of the SANFL, what do you think is your best possible grand final? Darce, we'll start with you. Best possible grand
Yeah.
final for the comp.
Based on history, based on what's happened over the last 100 plus years, be a Norwood Sturt would be just ideal for SANFL.
Okay.
If
Phil?
Glenelg can somehow come in, perhaps Glenelg, Nord, and Glenelg Sturt. So those three are probably a long history of grand finals over the last 100 years.
Okay. Phil?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with Das. I think the SANFL will be rubbing their hands together should they get a Eastern Suburbs rivals grand final. Norwood and Sturt, they've got that traditional history and that rivalry that dates back to eras gone by. And I realistically think that you would see a SANFL crowd and grand final day of 40,000 plus should
Yeah.
those two sides compete. And that'll be a great spectacle. Normally we have good weather at the start of end of September, start of October. Selfishly, if the Dogs manage to scrape through, and it'd be a tough ask for them, although they have secured the top 3. We know the colour, we know the atmosphere, we know the chanting that the Dogs fans bring. It will be a good atmosphere there, and that's me, putting my Centrals hat on to a degree. But I think the whole competition would certainly value a Norwood Sturt grand final.
When you do look at
Definitely
that,
be
Phil, from
interesting.
a Central's point of view, you're probably correct because they were very dominant in the year 2000 plus. So those kids that went there when they're 10 years old, they're probably hitting their 30s now. So they probably, obviously they do get in the grand final. They'll probably come out of the woodwork and attend that game as well. So it's that 24 years ago that the Sturt were dominant in that first 10 and 10 coming into the what do you call it, the teens. But that
Mm.
could absolutely be part of the SANFL, the new era of SANFL pre and post Crows and Port.
There's an important word that gets used a lot, and it's pretty pertinent, I think, for any club. It's called bandwagon. As finals footy brings out a lot of the regular supporters that wouldn't always go to the home and away games. There's something special about finals footy, and
Yep.
people jump on the bandwagon. I see supporters at games in finals time. They go, I haven't seen you throughout the minor round, and there might be reasons for that. But if they're going to come along and bring extra colour and atmosphere and add to the ambience on the day, then certainly the
Yep.
SANFL are going to be grateful and appreciative of that. But yeah, I think a Norwood Sturt grand final is where we're heading, and I think it's going to be a cracking day on the football calendar.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting, and the fact that all of the finals games are played at the Adelaide Oval too, and
Mm.
that's the other
Yep.
thing. And I remember listening to the Rush Hour in Adelaide, and Jars asked Sauce, he's like, why are they playing at the Adelaide Oval? Why aren't they playing at the home grounds of teams that have earned it? And I agree with what Sauce said. He goes, a lot of these boys are never going to play AFL footy.
Mm.
They're never going to play AFL footy. They're playing SANFL because they're getting their last kicks of football at a high, almost elite level right now because they're not going to get it.
Mm.
So for them to have this honor to be able to step onto the Adelaide Oval and to play finals, it's an honor. They want to do that. As much as you would love to be able to play at your home ground, we get it that they want to
Mm.
play there. So I kind of like that Sauce did that. I think Jars kind of got it. He goes, you don't get it. He goes, a lot of these players, they're never going to be able to run out on the Adelaide Oval very often. So to get
Mm.
this opportunity to play in the biggest stadium in South Australia for your finals, I mean, it's a lifetime memory that some of these players may not get very often. So you gotta admit that. As much as you love to see Norwood be able to play at Cooper Stadium, be able to host because they were the best team in the competition, you get it. And if you get the bandwagon fans, you fill the Adelaide Oval just a little bit more, and that's a big stadium. There's
Yes.
plenty of seats for everybody to come. So it is going to be fantastic. I cannot wait. It is going to be interesting keeping an eye on the two games this week because both of them have some intrigue. So let's jump to it, fellas. Prediction time. We have the five sitting here looking at the finals bracket as it goes, not the bracket version. This is like the write out version that the SANFL put out, which isn't as entertaining, but we'll make it do. So we'll jump right into it. We'll start at the bottom and work our way up. Elimination final. Glenelg v Woodville West Torrens. I'm sorry, Darce. I will make you choose here. Glenelg or your beloved Eagles. Who moves on and who goes home?
I can't speak with a heart on this one because we are having choosing. Look, I would love Eagles, but I just don't think on their recent form. I think Glenelg will win. I hope it's a great game and the miracle happens that Eagles do win, but unfortunately, I shouldn't say that either. But yeah, Glenelg will come home with the biscuits on that one by a few goals.
All right, Phil.
If you can only go on the contrasting form of the two sides, even from their last game, but over perhaps the snapshot over the last month, you'd say Glenelg are winning comfortably. I saw them firsthand last week. I thought they were fantastic. They've got some injury concerns. Cam McGree, their very impressive ruckman, he was injured. So if he doesn't get up with the rolled ankle, that means they put Liam McBean into the ruck and takes away from their scoring power. But I suppose you can look for positives. You look for little things that might be able to use for motivation. And the Eagles have won, I think, 5 out of the 6 finals these two sides have played. And of course, the last time they met in a final, Darcy will happily remember that it was the 2021 grand final where the Eagles were victorious. I think we'll see the opposite result. And for mine, I'm actually going to suggest that the Bays might win this one by about 8 goals.
I will go with you two on this one. I think Glenelg will win this. I don't know. There's a little part of me that goes, I think the Eagles are gonna I think Sauce is gonna do something. They're gonna be up and about. I think this is gonna be close. The Tigers, I think just a little bit too much. I agree with you. I think the form is going to be
Mm.
the hindrance of the Eagles. The confidence maybe down a little bit. I think the Tigers jump all over that. So I will have Glenelg move on. We will jump to the qualifying final that will be just after that as we see Sturt v Centrals. So I will now flip it head versus heart now, Phil. Can your doggies get it done? Or the double blues just a littlest bit too good?
I want to start this by saying that Harry Grant, the Magarey medalist, the reigning Magarey medalist, is unfortunately out likely for the rest of the season with both concussion and a fractured jaw in 3
Yeah.
places. If Harry Grant was playing, I'd say both my head and my heart will say Centrals might just get over the line in this one. There's just something about this lineup the Dogs have this year. There's a bit more depth, and they're a team that are playing for each other. And I think they're sick of losing to Sturt. Thanks to Zach Milbank's article on the SANFL website, just bringing it up now. Sturt have won the past 8 in a row against Centrals, but 19 of the past 20 outings. It goes over 11 years that the Double Blues have dominated the Bulldogs. On the flip side of that, the Dogs were pretty dominant over Sturt in finals appearances. So Central will take some confidence out of that, but losing the likes of Harry Grant through injury, they're going to rely on their depth to come in. So that being said, I still think the Dogs are a very good chance. I just can't see the Double Blues dropping this one. So Sturt, again, similarly to the first semi-final last year, should win by maybe 3 or 4 goals.
Okay, Darce.
Phil, I am with you. I mean, look at Sturt hasn't lost since round 5. So
Yeah.
is it a case where, yeah, sometimes you just have to lose at some stage, you know what I mean? To keep winning, look, they are a damn good side, ain't wrong, and they probably deserve to win all those games, but they haven't. Round 5's a long time ago, and do they know, if they're in a pressure position what to do? And I think Central's going to put hard pressure on this weekend. Is the first time they're going to say, "Gee whiz, we're getting pressured here," and they don't know how to come back from that. Look, I'm still going to go for Sturt. I think this would be a crack of a game. It wouldn't surprise me if Central to get over the line by a short margin either.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm with you both on this one. I think Sturt just a littlest bit too strong, and
Mm.
especially when you're losing a superstar player and a former McGarry medalist, that really does. You just can't replace it. You can put
Yeah.
somebody in, they can do a job, but will they do the same thing as the person that was there? Sometimes that's really difficult. I'm also going to tip Sturt, but Centrals is going to make this a game. Like I think this is
Yep,
going to
yep.
it's going to come down to late. I think Sturt's overall talent will be just a little bit too much, but it's going to be a good one. So I will have Sturt win that one. So let's go to the first semifinal. That will see the Central District's Bulldogs versus Glenelg. If I read this correctly, that will be the matchup in the next round. That is the same for all three of us. So let's go through it. Darce, we'll start with you. Can Centrals bounce back after the loss to Sturt and knock off the Tigers, or can the Tigers keep their finals hopes alive?
No, I think Centrals will beat Glenelg. I think Glenelg's form coming in the finals hasn't been real flash, and they've lost to a lot of the lower sides as well. And I think we've said it before that Glenelg, they're just up and down too much. They just have
Mm.
these days are on, and they're shockingly days and they're off. So I think that Centrals they're a damn good side. I think too, as the depth has come in it. So I think Centrals.
All right, Phil.
Yeah, look, I tend to agree. I mean, the Tigers are a little bit Jekyll and Hyde in the back half of the year, and Centrals will take a lot of confidence in that tight 1 point win that they had at Elizabeth a couple of weeks ago to be fresh in their mind. And whilst the Dogs, should they go down to the double blues, will be disappointed in the loss, that'll show the worthiness of winning a top three spot and earning that double chance. So it means that you're still alive, and I reckon they might just sneak over the line if they take on the Tigers.
Yep, I'm with you on that one. I got Centrals moving on. As you said, the inconsistency of Glenelg, I think, might be their downfall on that one. So that will move Centrals into that other preliminary final. Let's see who their opponent will be. Norwood v. Sturt, the top two sides lock horns in that second semifinal. Phil, we'll start with you. Can the top of the table Norwood cement their spot into a grand final, or can Sturt keep the winning streak going?
I'd have to look at the averages, but those sides that have that first week off into the second semi-final are fresh. Any players under any injury clouds are able to play. If the reserves are there and qualifying, they can play some footy at reserves level to get some run into their legs. And Nord have got the depth. Their reserves, I think, are top of the table. Jackson Callow might come back after injury. He's a talented full forward. And you would think that Nord, fresh off that week off, would comfortably attest for the double blues.
All right, Darce.
100% with, I totally agree there. Nord with the week off, fresh as, mate, they'll be absolutely tearing out their skin to go play footy that day after a week off. And I think they'll win. Not comfortably, but I think they'll still, yeah, after a week off, fresh as, burst the seams to go play a game, and they'll win by probably 2 or 3 goals.
I'm chuckling because I filled out the bracket before we got started, and it's eerie because we've literally ticked all the
Yeah.
same tips because
Same. We're on the
I
same
have I
page.
Yeah.
I have Norwood beating Sturt. I know Sturt's on that great winning streak, but Norwood has just looked so good over these last few rounds. They've looked absolutely unstoppable, defensively very stout. I will have Norwood again. I agree. I think the fresh bodies will be a big factor on this because I think the Central's game between Centrals and Sturt is going to be a tough one. And I think
Mm.
Sturt's going to be coming in a little bit banged up. And I think Norwood's going to be licking their chops on that one. So Norwood all the way now to a grand final. We see a rematch of the qualifying final as Sturt and Centrals get to lock horns again. So Phil, we'll go back to it again. Who plays Norwood in the grand final?
Well, if I'm going to stick to what I've thought has been to be the scenario for a grand final for some time now, Nord and Sturt have been clear dominant teams of the competition. You say Sturt go through and they take on Nord, as we've predicted a few times. So, whilst Centrals will be pleased to get through to a preliminary final should they progress that far, and again, an added bonus of the double chance finishing top three, I think the Double Blues would take care of the Dogs and get into another grand final.
All right, Darce.
Yeah, I agree with Phil. I think Central's done extremely well this year. No, yeah, I am actually giggling side too, but I think Central to get the third this year is fantastic. I just don't think they can get to that next level if to play it, go over the top of Sturt. But Sturt, this will be a great game. But Sturt for me, yeah, both 3 or 4 goals.
Well, let's make it 3 for 3 because I also have
Yeah.
Sturt beating Centrals and another tight one. I think again another physical game between these two teams. I think Sturt again just a littlest bit too much. Again, Centrals losing their top player probably doesn't help that much at all. But again,
Mhm.
I think this one could be even closer. I think the first one will be 2 or 3 goals. I think this one will be under could be closer to a goal because it's never easy to beat a team twice in the finals, let alone beating them
Mm.
3 or 4 times during the season. So we all have the same grand final. Norwood v Sturt rematch of the second semifinal. Do we see a repeat? And did Norwood get another premiership, or does Sturt throw the proverbial curveball and knock off Norwood in the second matchup? Darce, we will start with you. Who is
Okay.
going to win the premiership?
Okay, sometimes when you have a bye, or they don't play, like Norwood aren't playing this weekend, then they win straight into then they have another bye, then straight in the grand final. That can be a bit of a boogeyman sometimes. I know, remember when the Eagles in the year 2015, 16, and 17, they finished minor and premiers. I'm just trying to remember the year, and they got knocked out straight sets. They were in the grand final, lost the grand final because of that week, those 2 weeks off they had. So look, I'm still going to go for Norwood, but I just hope that the 2 weeks off that some teams it does affect them, they'll still get over the line for me.
Okay, Phil.
I'm just reaching in my pocket for a coin because it would literally be a toss of the
Yeah,
coin, I would think.
that's
So
right. Yeah,
you'd have to go based on form. Both sides are in some great form. We talked about Sturt with their run of, I think, 11 or 12 consecutive wins, and they'd have to match a record from the 70s, I think 1978 under Jack Odie when they won 17 in a row and went on to win the flag. But yeah, look, I think Norwood for mine are just the better team at the moment. Sturt do have a couple of weaknesses here and there, and Norwood have got that depth. I think a lot might hinge on whether Jackson Callow gets up and plays. That being said, if he doesn't, Tristan Binder, who's had an injury interrupted season himself, a bit of an unknown player, but he's kicked 9 goals at league level in the last couple of weeks, and he can step up and fill the void. So whilst I think it'll be a great day of footy for the rivals, the traditional arch rivals going at it, I think we might hear the good old red and blue at the end of the day.
I'm one of those, I look at it like this. I agree with you, Darce, on sometimes the buy can be a bad thing because the rest versus rust argument. But here's where I think it goes the opposite way. Sturt will have had 2 extra games on their legs and 2 games against Centrals,
yeah,
which I think is going to be a physical matchup. I think Sturt comes into that final one. They could be beat up. It could be one of those where Norwood have to survive the first quarter because the first quarter, Sturt's going to be up and about because they'll have been playing, and Norwood's going to kind of have to sit back and kind of absorb a little bit of pressure because Sturt's going to come out flying. But come that second half, those weary legs, they'll be in their fourth game in 4 weeks. Norwood will only be on their second. Norwood then, with the fresher legs, could be able to kind of make up the deficit if they're down, and then kind of run over the top. I will tip Norwood in this only because I think the wear and tear on Sturt will be just the littlest bit too much, especially when you're playing a very good Norwood team that will be fresh, that will have less games on their legs. And we never know what's the injury toll going to be when you have to play 2 extra games that the team you're playing didn't have to play. So I will tip Norwood as well for my grand final winner, which will then get the Redlegs another premiership in such a short amount of time. But it is always great to go through it. I cannot wait for finals. Again, anything is possible. I'm sitting here looking at it going, I can also see how Sturt could win it. I can also see how the Central District Bulldogs could win it.
yep.
So it is going to be fun. I cannot wait to keep an eye on this. The footy in my brain is going to be nuts this week because I have the AFLW getting started. We've got this final, there's still VFL final, and there's Waffle final still to watch. So it is going to be so much fun over these next few weeks. Fellas, as always, it is great to talk SANFL footy. It is great to catch up as always. So we will reconvene again after the grand final. We will break down how we did tip wise and who gets to raise a flag at the end of the year. So, Phil, as always, thank you so much. Real quick before we go, are you getting to call any of these games?
Unfortunately, this year the SANFL have decided that it's going to be exclusive to Channel 7. So whilst the
Oh,
games will be
darn.
streamed
Oh,
on
no
SANFL
way.
now, you'll still be able to watch them on your SANFL Now stream and live on the AFL app, but it will be taking Channel 7 audio. So it does have that feeling of I've played every minor round game this year. It
Yeah.
gets to the finals and the coach has dropped me and I'm first
Yeah.
emergency. That being said, the guys from the SANFL that do the rostering are fantastic and they'll get us commentating some underage games. Fingers crossed, grand final morning, I'll get to do the Futures game, which is the best talent of the under 17s throughout South
Yep.
Australia. And that's always a bit of a showcase game where future stars of the AFL, Dyson Sharp, one in particular, he'll play. So, yeah, it does have a bit of an empty feeling about it. But also, Donna, you'll know yourself, mate, that the AFLW is kicking off. And Our Wharf Radio crew have just been confirmed for 4 or 5 games. I'm even getting flown to Melbourne and Sydney to call some footy over there. So I'll have footy fixing commentating right through until October.
Well, I will tell you
Good on
this.
you.
I will tell you this on mic. Let me know when you're calling and what games you're calling. I will try to give a
Yep.
listen because I've always enjoyed listening to you give the call, even if I have to mute my iPad and turn on my phone on the Wharf Radio. It was definitely worth it for the SANFL Grand Final. I thought you and Jess Bates and I think it was Phil Herden, correct, called that magnificently. So
Yeah, it was a good day.
Phil
Yeah,
calls
Chris
everything.
Kendall involved as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then Darce, again, as always, I wish you the best of luck. Hopefully, Woodville West Torrance doesn't break your heart, and hopefully, it's not a double with Carlton the next week. I'm crossing my fingers for you, sir.
I'll definitely be Adelaide over this Sunday, and I'll be cheering them on. So absolutely.
Cannot
Just
wait.
make sure you've got your batteries in your pacemaker, Das.
Yeah, exactly. They definitely run out last weekend, I tell you.
Oh boy, oh boy. You gotta hey, if you can't laugh at yourself, if you can't take the Mickey out of yourself a little bit, where's the fun in that? So
That's it.
ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this sample snapshot. Again, we will be back again after the grand final to talk all of the men's grand final, kind of recap the SANFL and SANFL W seasons as a whole, and end the SANFL chat for the year. Such a sad part of the year. It's bittersweet, but you want to know what? It has been a blast as per usual. So that'll do it for another episode of Donnie's Disposal. We'll be back with more footy coverage very, very soon.